Hello there. In this tutorial I'm going to show you a new tool, which is the Quilt tool. With this tool you can take any kind of geometry and you can blow it up. Like there are stitches and there is air inside, or maybe feathers or wool. And you also have these creases that make it look like it's textile, and you can also combine it with maybe metal wires so it looks like it's blown up around these wires. I'm going to go into this here. This is the node setup. You can get it now on Blender Market, and at a later stage I'm going to go into how to build it yourself, but for now I'm going to show you how this tool works. So I have two node groups. One is the RD Quilt, and this is the RD Quilt vertex group. And here you set a vertex group, and it will take that vertex group and make the seams. And this one just takes the base mesh, so a low poly mesh, because when you do high poly mesh, every face it's going to try to blow up. So if I go into preview mode and I'm taking the node group here and I'm taking the torus, this is actually the geometry. So it's very basic geometry. Let's go into wireframe mode. Here you see all the faces. And now when I use the quilt, then you see that it has blown up all these faces. So these are the faces, and here they have been blown up. So it also scales down a little bit the model, so it's not getting very big, so it stays a little bit confined. And what I also have here is that it has these tiny creases, and I'm doing that by a set position, and I'm taking the edges which are generated here, and then I'm making these tiny creases. And also when we go into cycles, you see that there is a material that takes the ambient occlusion and then makes it a little bit darker. So this is what it does. You can here take the subdivisions, give it less subdivisions, so it has more geometry to work with. You can change the thickness. Here it goes down, here it goes up, and you also have a smoothness. If it's not smooth, then it becomes really jagged. When I take down the subdivisions, it becomes smoother again. But when I go back, put it on 300 for this model. So if you have a different model, you need different settings. If I take this mesh, the rounded cylinder, here you see what happens. It just blows up all the faces. And when I take an icosphere, it looks like this. So it really blows up all your faces. Then for the next one over here, this is the vertex group one. We have, let's take this one and then disconnect it. This is the mesh that is in here. Here I'm not using the mesh but the sphere. Here I'm using the mesh that is actually in this object. And you see the yellow lines, and they are in this group, the vertex group. And it's being used to blow up the model. And this is how it looks. If I go out of edit mode and connect it, here you can see what's happening. So it's blowing up all these faces, and it's taking all this this whole ridge, and then I'm deleting all the faces and taking only the edges, and then I'm making a frame out of it. And if we go into rendered mode, you see here that it's a metal frame, and you can just blow up all these models around these wires. And I'm setting the material here to be this red plastic blow up material. And that is how this quilt works. So you also have subdivisions where you can change the amount of faces that you have, and the thickness and the smoothness. And when we go to the third option, so this one is a little bit more complex. I'm going to try to compress this auto into its own node group as a tool, and this one is a bit more advanced. And you can see here that you have better creases and that's because I am taking the edges and then I am making a curve line. Maybe I can show it here when we use a viewer node. Viewer, then you know a little bit of what is happening. Here I have a mesh line, and I'm projecting them on all these seams. So I'm using a geometry proximity to make these creases. So here I'm realizing the instances, making them into a mesh, and then using the distance from the blow up surface. So if I go here, this is the blown up surface without the creases, using the geometry proximity, and then also blending it with the distance from this geometry, and then setting the position, and then you get this. And then also I'm using that to make this material. And then if I delete this one, go into Eevee. You're not seeing it real well in Eevee because it doesn't work that well with ambient occlusion or this proximity shaders, but in cycles you see it a lot better. And this is the third node setup that you can use. So it's not really a tool yet. These ones are the simple ones, but this more advanced one I'm going to make into a tool for you as well. I'm also working on a new dimension tool, which is within a camera plane, so it's always on top of your model, just like a real technical sheet which you make in SolidWorks or in Rhino or some of these CAD programs. So then it becomes a little bit more versatile and also easier to work with, so you don't have to position your dimensions around your model. So I'm going to make a separate file with new dimensions that are projected into a camera plane. I'm also working on a new weld, which is based on the recent bevel node that I made. Which the bevel node was a node which connected two objects with a boolean and then make a nice round bevel. And that one works quite well. I'm going to use it also to create a new weld node. And also what I'm doing is I'm taking all my tools, and as you can see here, I'm giving them all clear icons. So this is the curve shapes tool. You have all these icons that you can drag in, and you get this curve that you can change the parameters of. Here are the dimensions, so you have an angle, annotation, a width and an arc length. And here I have essentials. These are nodes that I use a lot when I build new things. I'm going to make a separate tutorial when this is finished where you can get all these things, and also some things are changing in the essentials node bundle. And then we have also selection tools, and here you can make an index selection of your model. And now with icons it becomes a bit more clear. I want to dive into it at a later stage so it becomes even more clear with real icons maybe, or maybe with a branding in it. But now I just made a quick render of what the tool does a little bit, so you know what you get. So that is for the future, and I hope this was useful for you, and hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye!